Just a quick FYI, tomorrow, where they'll die no more. Where they'll die no more, all right? Let's get into the lesson. There is flyers in the back for the revival and the concert, if you would like to get one of those and pass it out. Our church singers will provide the special music for that week. So there'll be menu, and that'd be, you hear KP, you are living on that, right? There'll be menu, and the girls.
I guess I turned it down.
We're just glad to have you guys back with us this morning. I'm glad you're feeling some better. He's still taking some antibiotics, but thank God they're here this morning. Amen? Looking for a good time in the Lord. This is a long chapter and covers a lot of different things. If you took the time to study ahead of this morning's lesson on what this chapter is about, again, it will cover a lot of different things, and I don't know that we'll have a great deal of time to spend on any one certain subject, so I'm going to do my best to hush now and get right into the lesson unless somebody has a testimony. I'd rather be obedient to God than I would to get through a chapter. Wouldn't you? There's 50-some verses, if my memory serves me correct, on this chapter. And if we get through it, we'll get through it. If you have 55. So, and the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, and saying to them, when you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years shalt thou sow thy field, and 6 years shalt thou prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field, nor prune thy vineyard. That which groweth of its own accord in thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of the vine undressed, for it is the year of rest unto the land. Now, why would God say that the ground itself needs to rest? Remember, when God created the earth, 6 days God created the earth, God rested on the 7th day. God wasn't tired, but it was an example or a time of rest for mankind. So why is God, after saying 6 years you plow this ground or you prune this vineyard and you gather the fruit out of it, but on that 7th year let the ground and the vineyard rest. If it grows anything, don't cut it. Don't reap the harvest, don't get the grapes off the vine, don't pull the beans, whatever the case may be. Why would God do that? For the ground. Remember, this Sabbath is for the land.
Yeah, it's been proven that it increases in its richness if it's set instead of keep working.
And all this mineral and stuff that's in the ground. If you keep using it every year, it goes away after a while. Keep putting it back.
Remember, huh?
That's why farmers rotate crops.
Well, they rotate crops simply because soybeans put nitrogen in the ground, corn pulls nitrogen out of the ground, and it saves them money on the corn because the nitrogen is the most expensive part of fertilizer, and it saves them money. That's one reason that they do that, all right? Here's what the deal is with this, all right? When God, Adam and Eve sinned, all right? God started with the serpent. You're cursed. From henceforth upon your belly you will eat dust to the ground. God came to the woman. You're cursed, and from henceforth thy pain shall be multiplied in childbearing. When God came to Adam, cursed is the ground for your sake. The ground is cursed, and that's why the ground needs to rest. If the earth was perfect, it would constantly. You know what? In the new heaven and the new earth, there's 12 trees, or there's a tree of life on each side of the river. And every every month they yield fruit. You know how many times a year you get apples off of a tree right now? One. This tree not only yields one fruit, but it yields 12. All manner of fruit on one tree. Every month. Blows my mind. You know why? There ain't no curse. You know what's wrong with our society today? There's a curse on the country. There's a curse upon mankind. Everything around us is, I realize today, you and I, our curse, even though we live here on this earth, even though we're still in this body, our curse has been taken away, that destruction. We still suffer from the side effects of that curse that was placed upon Adam. For in Adam all what? Die. But in Christ all shall be made alive. Now, we haven't reaped the benefits of the curse being taken away from us. Because remember, our curse, our death, was placed upon Jesus Christ. So this curse of the ground is that the ground may rest and rejuvenate itself. I'm telling you, I don't care what day of the week it is, you need to come aside and rest. Are you hear me? It's for your benefit. If you keep going and going and going, and like the Energizer Bunny Rabbit, I'm going to tell you what, sooner or later, them batteries will run down. Your body will stop you if you don't stop. Am I right, Joe Coleman? You'll have a heart attack, won't you, Joe? And just other things. I mean, there's even remember when Christ was here with his disciples, they had been healing and feeding thousands and doing many miracles and casting out devils and going from town to town to town. And finally Jesus looked at them and said, boys, it's time for us to come aside. And he took the 12 and he took them off to a solitary place. And he sat there and he taught them and he encouraged them, and they rested. They were revived. You know what? And God knew when they were revived, because when they were revived, guess what? The people came to them. How did they get there? No man can come to Christ except God draw him. I'm just saying. So God does this for the ground. Amen?
Question.
Yes, sir?
On this, they were not to harvest anything off this land on the 7th year, right? What about most of these poor people? That's where they got their stuff when they gleaned or whatever. They left a little bit on the side. What about them? Are they still, are they not allowed?
All right. This is called the Sabbath year. If I was to title this year, and I'm not God, and I'm not trying to change the Bible. Please don't think that I'm trying to change the Bible. But I would have called this the year of faith. Because God said, if you do this and you trust me, he said, on that 6th year, I'll bless you double. And all you've got to do is store it up. Now, I realize, again, people, and we're going to get into that later on in the lesson when it goes to talking about the year of Jubilee. People would sell their sons for debts. You know, they somehow they would get in a debt regardless of whatever happened. They would get in a tight spot and they would sell their land. They would sell their sons and their daughters to be slaves and all of this. And you know, it was all because that if they trusted God and put God first, God supplied that need. Remember, they're getting ready to go into the promised land. All right? Moses is coming down to the end of his journey. And a lot of this book of Leviticus, the book of the law, even when you get into Numbers and Deuteronomy, all it's doing is reflecting back on what God has said. When you go into this land, and you begin to possess these things that I'm giving you. That's what God said. I'm giving you this. There's a warning in there. Beware that you forget not your God. That's not exactly word for word. That's real close. And that's what's wrong with so many people today. That they have been so blessed. I'm going to tell you. The Bible said all good and perfect gifts come down from the God of light. People have forgotten where their blessings come from. Because if they truly remembered where it came from and how they got what they've got, you know, if you get a new car, I realize you might have went down and you may be working ever how many days a week or whatever. You might have been your name upon there. But guess what? You don't move a finger without God. And our people, our country, our nation has forgot that we don't need God for anything. Matter of fact, people have to over there hollering death to America, and we've got idiots over here saying, we're sorry we killed your guy. That's plumb stupid. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. When someone is your enemy, brother, you destroy them.
That's right. Amen.
Now, I'm not saying that, listen, understand this. Someone that is a sinner is not my enemy. And the church has lost sight of that. They are God's chosen. They are God's son, God's daughter. They have went astray. All we like sheep have gone astray. We need to get back to that fact. That, listen, now I realize that them people over there, that are worshiping false gods, they're not God's people. I'm just telling you.
They don't play with any kind of rule.
Oh, Lord, no. Matter of fact, in the Quran, it's perfectly legal in the Quran for me to lie to you if it benefits me. Now, what kind of religion is that? Now, let's get back to our lesson. There's a long way to go, all right? Apologize for getting off for just a minute. Now, remember, again, God does this for the land to rest. And the Sabbath of the land shall be a meat for you, for thee, for thy servant, and for thy maid, and thy hired servant, and for the stranger that sojourns among you. Notice the word shall be meat unto you. Now, when I think of the word meat, I think of a T-bone steak. Don't you, John? Well, you can eat sirloin you want. I won't eat T-bone, all right? If I can't get a T-bone, I'll eat a sirloin. But when I think of meat, I'm thinking of food. This word meat here doesn't mean food, because they're not together anything. In other words, it'll be beneficial to you, your maids, your men servants, your hired servants, to the strength, it's for everybody's benefit to let this land rest. That's what it says. All right? He would give them food for this year, food for next year, not only food for that year, but food to sustain them until, and enough to have the seed to plant for that year. I don't know about you, that's a mighty big harvest. You see, here's what's going on in Israel today, is they practice this. All right? They won't plow their ground. They won't. They rent it out. Because it's all about the Benjamins to them. It's not about taking care of what God, you know, to say that I'm following God by not resting, by not plowing the ground, and then hiring it out to somebody else, might as well plow it yourself. Right? God sees. God sees. And I would love to tell you all about my message this morning. It's just eating me up, but I can't. For thy cattle and for thy beasts that are in thy land shall all the increase thereof be meat. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbath of years unto thee 7 times 7 years. The space of 7 Sabbath of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Now, remember, let me just read before I go ahead. And ye shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land, throughout all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you. And ye shall return every man unto his possession. Ye shall return every man unto his family. A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. You shall not sow, neither reap that which soweth of itself in it, or gather of the grapes in it, or the vine undressed. It is a jubilee. It shall be holy unto you. She shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. And in the year of jubilee ye shall return every man unto his possession. Now let me stop right there. This will go on just a little bit. Picture this, all right? You've come through 6 years. You've come through year 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. And God has blessed you abundantly. All God says, all right, now this is a Sabbath year. Don't work the ground. Not only is this year the Sabbath year, the 50th year is the year of Jubilee. Now that it's the year of Jubilee, you've got to let every man go. Every parcel of ground that you have bought, it reverts back to the original owner that it came from. If he's dead, it would go to his heir. You let all those servants go. So there's 2 years there that they don't sow, nor they don't plant, nor they don't reap anything. And yet God will sustain them through the 49th year, through the 50th year, until the crops come in the 51st year. Now that seems like a lot, doesn't it? Would it? I mean, think about it. If you're sitting there and it's the year 48 and you know all that's coming and you think, oh, what am I going to do for the next 3 years? What am I going to eat? There's only one thing you've got to do is remember what God has done in the past. For 40 years, God brought them bread and flesh in the wilderness. 30 train cars of bread every morning. 30 train cars. Think about that. So if God did that for 40 years and God kept them alive, here's what God said. He said your clothes are not going to wear out, your shoes are not going to wear out, and I'm going to supply every need for 40 years. And you want to worry about years 49, 50, and 51? How quick we are to start worrying about I said we. I didn't say y'all. I said we. About, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm telling you, David said I was young and now I'm old. I've never seen the Lord's righteous forsaken, his seed begging bread. Now when I think about that statement, I remember David going into Abiathar the priest and said, hey, me and these boys are hungry. We're on a mission. He said, you got anything to eat? Only thing I've got is the holy bread. It's for the priest. But if you guys have kept yourself clean, you can have it. And they took that bread and went on their journey. So as we think about all those things and to know, remember this verse. And we quote it, but we don't practice it. For my God shall supply half of your needs according to his riches. What did it say, Gary?
It says
all your needs according to your riches and glory. The problem is we let our wants get us in trouble. I didn't say y'all now, I said we. We let our wants get us in trouble. Now again, I shared this last week. I told you that, and I heard it on a show on Dr. James Dobson. They were showing the best of, or playing the best of 2019 there, and he was talking with a Jewish guy, and the last year of Jubilee was 2017. That was their 50th year of Jubilee, all right? So, again, by the way, just to throw this out there as an extra bonus, I read this, and it comes straight from Israel. This is not our news. Our news wouldn't report this. This is Israeli news. The housing director in Israel has authorized and made a proclamation for the new temple to start. You know what that means?
Oh, yeah.
You better be ready to get out of here. You ain't right, you're going to get left. Because it's here. This is the temple that the Antichrist will end up setting himself up in. Now, how far that is, listen, with the technology we have today, I know and you know, man, they build these big skyscrapers in 2 years. It ain't going to take them long to build this temple. Brother, coming to the Lord is at the door. Be ready. And that's the only reason that I just wanted to share that with you this morning. Verse 14, and if thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, or buyest aught of thy neighbor's hand, ye shall not oppress your neighbor. According to the number of years that after the Jubilee shalt thou buy of thy neighbor, and according unto the number of years of the fruits he shall sell unto thee. According to the multitude of years shalt thou increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years shalt thou diminish the price of it. For according to the number of the years of the fruits doth he sell unto thee. Ye shall not therefore oppress one another, but thou shalt fear thy God, for I am the Lord your God. So what does that tell me? How am I to treat you? Just like what I would God. That's really what this is saying. That I'm not to default you in any way. Now again, I talked a little bit about this last week. Remember, there's 49 years in there that they would, from that 50th year, there's 49 years in there. And again, they're going to count out the other 7 years. So that brings it down to 42 years. According to the number of crops that he can raise off there, that's the value of that land. Now, how much they come up with the value of each year, I don't have a clue. The Bible doesn't tell us where they get that at. But I cannot, let's say we're at year 25, I cannot charge you what I would for that piece of ground at year 45. I've got to take those years off there that's coming along. So that's how they valued the land. And prorated. So as think about selling something and then knowing you're going to get it back.
Warranties have that.
Huh?
Warranties have that probate. You get a 30-year shingle roof, 18 years you have to put another on, they charge you.
Yeah, but that ain't for your benefit.
No, it's not your benefit.
Just think how all these old greedy people nowadays, how they buy up all this stuff and then they have to give it back. Boy, that'd break your heart, wouldn't it?
Well, wouldn't it you? I mean, if you think about it, you paid for it and you owned it, and then they're going to get it back and you start all over again.
Here's the deal. That little piece of ground over there that we call Israel is the richest, most fertile ground in the world. And there's more oil under the nation of Israel than there are all the other nations in the world combined. Think about that.
That's why these heathens want it.
Huh?
That's why these heathens want it.
That's why the oil, there's gold there, there's natural gas there, the crops. I mean, every good thing that you can imagine. Remember, God said it's a land flowing with milk and honey. It's there.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on, all right? Verse 18, wherefore ye shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, and ye shall dwell in the land safely. And the land shall yield her fruit, and ye shall eat your fill, and dwell therein safely. And ye shall say, what shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, ye shall not sow nor gather in our increase. Then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and ye shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. Remember what God's saying here. I'm not in the 6th year. I'm going to bless you enough for 3 years worth of fruit. Then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. And ye shall sow the 8th year, and shall eat of the old fruit until the 9th year. Until the fruit come in, ye shall eat of the old store, and the land shall not be sold forever. For the land is, what's them 2 words? That word, mine. So it's not Israel's land, it's whose land? 32,510 belongs to God. It don't belong to the bank. It don't belong to me. It belongs to God. It don't belong to Meigs County. It don't belong to everything. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. For ye are strangers and sojourners with me. And in all the land of your possession ye shall grant a redemption for the land. If thy brother be waxen poor and has sold away some of his possessions, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then he shall redeem that which his brother has sold. If a man have none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it, then let him count the years of the sale thereof, and restore the overplus unto the man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession. Now, if God's saying that he's going to bless, all right, what would cause someone to become poor?
I believe in one.
Lack of faith, all right? The big thing would be obedience. Because God said, if you do this, 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 I will bless you in this, 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 this. But if you don't do this, 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 I will curse you in this, 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 this.
So that's why everybody says,
See,
if something happens to you, well, what do you do? You think of Job, what they said to him. And that's the way we grew up to believe if something happens, what do we do?
Well, the first job I ever had was at a furniture place, and I worked with a girl there. She ran the place where they sold the used stuff and the parts. She was kind of like the little manager up there. And every time she gets sick or somebody was sick, she's talking about, I wonder what they done, or I wonder what, God forgive me for whatever I've done. Now that you've made me sick, Lord, I'm sorry that I've, and I'm going to tell you something. I know that there are things that I can do that will destroy this body, all right? But sickness and disease is brought upon this earth, that curse. Go back to what we said earlier, is Adam. Now, the blessings of God, what stops them, again, is obedience. What keeps them coming is obedience. What stops them is disobedience. Same thing in my life or your life. If I'm not living where I should be as a Christian, God won't hear my prayers.
But sinners don't, and a lot of them are blessed. If you want to use the word blessed.
Rains on the just as well as the unjust, right?
He said, we just won't have you, but you're a Christian. I said, but I'm going to tell you something. If we're standing out here in the rain, we're both going to get wet.
See, that's one thing, I believe it's Proverbs, ask the question, why doth the wicked prosper? Think about it. I mean, all my life, I've seen men that never worked a lick, that hunted anytime they wanted to hunt, fished anytime they wanted to fish, went ginseng and did I'm talking about, I've seen men draw a check that was disabled, that couldn't work, and do these things every day. And I'm like working most of my life, I have worked 6 days a week. Up until recent years, I never had a 5-day-a-week job. You're talking about getting aggravated, and here you are constantly, you're working 60 to 72 hours a week, and you don't have time for nothing, and you see all this other going on, and you're scratching your head, Lord, why? Honestly, it'll make you angry if you dwell on it. I know. But here's the thing. I learned to count my blessings and not theirs. And I know that my greatest blessing is yet to come. So much that we don't understand, we might not prosper, but we're going to prosper.
And you got to look at the big picture. When you start looking at something, look at the big picture. Where are they going to end? Where they're going to end? That's how I try to. When we think of prosperity, we think of wealth. Now, I know today that a rich man can make it to heaven. But how many of them, because of their riches, get self-independent? And I always say, who commits suicide? It's not the poor people. So if riches is the happy part, we're miserable.
Anybody watch David Jeremiah this morning? 26 million Bibles are sold in America alone every year. The top 5 best-selling books in all the United States last year, only 12 million. Every year it's the bestseller. They won't even put it on the list anymore, but it far out surpasses. But that was this morning on his television program that he shared that all all the top 5 best-selling, only 12 million copies were sold, but yet 26 million copies of the Bible were sold last year. That's sold, not printed, sold. Huh?
How many billions of Gideon Bibles were bought and put out?
Yep. Then let's try to get a few more of these verses. Let's skip down a few verses, all right? Because we've got under the principle of the redemption there and all that, right? The year of Jubilee. Notwithstanding the cities of the Levites, verse 32, the Levites and the houses of the cities of their possession may the Levites redeem at any time. Not just the year of Jubilee, at any time. If a man purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold in the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee, for the houses of the cities of Levites are their possession among the children of Israel. But the field and the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession. You can't. They could sell the house that they live in, but the ground that God had given the Levites to plow, they couldn't sell it. All right? So I wanted to bring that in. But if the field, see verse 35, if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Did you catch that? In other words, if he don't have any place to live, you're to keep him. That thou shalt take thou no usury, say that fast 3 times, of him or increase, but fear thy God, for thy brother may live with thee. Thou shalt not give him thy money upon usury, nor lend him thy victuals for increase. I am the Lord your God, which brought thee. In other words, you're not to charge him rent. You're not to charge him for the food. I gave it to you. You're to take care of him. But if a man doesn't work, in other words, he's not to come in your house and just lay around and sponge off you, right? Verse 43, let's skip down just a few more. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, thou shalt fear thy God. In other words, you're not to sell him, or that word rigor means fierceness, anger, harshness. You're not to be mean to him. Why? Because the verse before it tells us, as you were strangers in the land of Egypt and they mistreated you, you're not to mistreat your brother. Boy, I wish a lot of Christians would hear that. Don't y'all? Verse 45, moreover, the strangers are but verse 44, both thy bondman and thy bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of thy heathen which thou art round about of them, that ye shall buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, the children of Israel, the children of the strangers that sojourn among you, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inheritance of them that possess, and they shall be your bondsmen forever. But over your brethren, your children of Israel, ye shall not rule over them over one another with rigor. Now, this slavery is really what this is speaking of here, is you're not to make a slave out of thy brother. Notice God gave them provision to make other nations slaves. Now, I know and you know that would not sit well with a lot of people today. I do not, in today's society, there is no excuse for slavery. That's in my honest opinion. Why God allowed it in big biblical times, in these times, 500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, whatever it was, you'd have to ask God. He doesn't tell us. Only thing I know is that these are God's chosen people. Here's the thing. When God put Adam on this earth, He gave him dominion over everything. Dominion means rule. So if Adam is to rule, or mankind is to rule everything, why do we save the whales and kill the babies? Just saying. Ye shall take them as an inheritance. I read that one, didn't I? And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwell by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or of the stock of the stranger's family, and he is sold as many, and after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. In other words, if he wax poor and he sells himself to a stranger, then it is up to one of the nation of Israel. Remember, they're all brothers. Think about that. They have one father, Israel, 12 brothers. They're seed of the brothers. They're all brothers. That's why the people that attend, let's say Glenroy Church, they're our brothers and sisters. People that attend Colton Church, our brothers and sisters. People that attend MacArthur Church, our brothers and sisters. People that attend the Church of God, our brothers and sisters. People that attend the holiness, our brothers. We're all brothers and sisters. We cannot separate ourselves out because there's only one family, and that's the family of God, the Church of the living God. 49. Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is not unto kin unto him and his family may redeem him, or if he be able, he may redeem himself. He shall reckon with him that bought him from the year that he was sold to him unto the year of Jubilee, and the price of his sale shall be according to the number of years, according to the time of a hired servant. If there be many years behind, according to him that shall give him again the price of his redemption out of the money that he be bought for. But if there remain but few years unto the year of Jubilee, then he shall count with him according unto the years he shall give him again the price of his redemption. As a yearly hired servant shall he be with him, and other shall not rule with vigor over him in thy sight. In other words, if I see Joe mistreating Gary, I'm to go to Joe and say, you can't do that. Well, there's a good lesson for us to learn. Yeah. Right? And you remember what Cain said? Am I my brother's keeper? According to this, if I see my brother be mistreated, I'm to go to him and to stop that, if it means buying him and setting him free. Because remember, I can't make him a slave, a bondservant. And if he be not redeemed in the years, then he shall go out in the year of Jubilee, both he and his children with him, and unto all the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants. They are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Israel. I am the Lord your God. So notice, we find out in this chapter, God said, the field is mine, the crops are mine, and the people are mine. He owns it all. Amen.